your breath, hold on to your heart, hold on to your home.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
All right, so here's a quick recap. Once upon a time, there were dozens, actually hundreds, of individuals who were doing well. They were people just like your friends, your family, your neighbors, people that you know who were respectable, who worked hard, who were responsible, who accomplished a lot of things, who played by the rules, who had worked for a number of years, were reliable. They had built good careers. They had put away some savings. They had built up some home equity. Maybe they had a retirement account. They had the respect of their family members who were willing to invest some money if they wanted to start a venture. They had great credit scores. Maybe they had put away some money for their kids' college funds. Dreamed of owning their own businesses, being their own boss, having something that they could build with their families, something that they could control and build equity. And they heard about this magical land called franchising, this place where you could own a business, but also have the advantages of a large corporation, a brand name and systems, an organization to be part of. And so they ventured into this franchise land, and they found a lot of really nice people who were just more than willing to help them out. But being smart and being good students and always doing their homework, they did their research. They went to the franchise shows. They went to the conventions. They went to the International Franchise Association on the website. They read what was there. They read books about amazing franchises. They studied. They read the publications and combed through the franchise portals of different opportunities. And maybe they hooked up with a franchise consultant who, like this Lisa Welko pictured here, who were willing to help them research different franchise opportunities and find one that matched well for their personality and for their goals. One thing that they learned in this franchise world, everybody felt very good about recommending this United Franchise Group, and everybody felt great about recommending this Experimac, later called Experimax, which is a computer store, just like the Apple store, except they sell certified pre-owned Apple computers and also iPhones. And so they kept looking into that, and they found a little bit more, learned a little bit more about that, and the company told them the advantages, which are that it's a thriving, growing company, that you'll make a lot of money, that it produces a lot of dollars. They saw interviews with Paul Bosley, funding expert, who told them you'll make money fast. Realistically, 120 days will start turning a profit. And Dr. John Hayes said, if you follow the system, it's hard to go wrong with that system. And Paul Bosley said, yeah, we've had very few failures. And Ray Titus up here, who was the head of United Franchise Group, recounted how their first store did $600,000 in the first year, $1.1 million in gross sales the second year, and $1.8 million in the third year. And the vice presidents and the sales staff were very helpful and told them not to worry, that they would easily hit $100,000 per month, and that by the second year they would be in the $1 million club. These good students and these good business people kind of flocked to Experimac, and between 2015 and now 2021, Experimax and UFG were able to sign 169 different franchise agreements at $350,000 investment each, in no small part. And what really sold a lot of these very cautious and analytical people was their trip to the Emerald City, which was the headquarters of UFG down in West Palm Beach, Florida, where they met a lot of really nice people and were very impressed.
United Franchise Group has been established for 33 years. So we've got it down pat. We actually have a home office with almost 200 employees there that actually are there just to support franchisees. We can help them with accounting. We can help them with training questions. We have a field support team that goes out and visits stores on a regular basis. So we've got all sorts of great advice, and we've got, of course, the experience of having done it for so many years that we probably won't find too many questions that we get that we haven't already seen before.
On top of that, the Wizard of Oz, Paul Bosley, gotten them set up with all their funding needs, and within a week was able to help them plunge $225,000, $300,000 into debt. And he did this by providing the same information that they had been hearing about, that they could be doing $700,000, to $800,000 in their first year, and that they were likely to be topping $1 million per year from year 2 onward. Fortunately, the story doesn't end there with that happy ending. Unfortunately, it's actually based on a true story. And so what they found after visiting that amazing place in Emerald City was something very different than what they were promised.
And then once they had their money, it was just a dial tone. So it was very, very evident once they were paid, they could really care less what happened to us, because they got what they came for.
They also found out that the numbers that they had been given were not only illegal for the company to be providing those false claims, but that they were way off from reality, and that the actual gross sales that were reported in the 2018 FDD, the average franchise that had been open for 2 years at that point was doing $367,944 in gross sales, not even half of what they claimed they would be doing in gross sales in their first year. And these stores this is after 2 full years. And after 2 full years, they even said they would be doing over $1 million, 3 times what their actual sales were at that point, and that they had been sold something that was entirely fictional. They're having problems, and they can't understand why they're not, producing the kind of revenue that they really had needed to in order to pay off those loans. They realized that they had been lied to, that these stores do not make a lot of money, that they do not produce a lot of dollars, as Jim Muir had said. Bosley was not being honest when he said you'll make money fast, 120 days, that the franchisees were not achieving the numbers that Ray Titus had publicly talked about, 600,000. That stores were not easily hitting $100,000 per month as they had been told, and that there really was no $1 million club. And yes, total franchises, they had sold 169, but out of a total of 169 that have opened to date, the total who had exited, remember these are 35-year contracts, they had signed up for 35-year contracts, and now within a year or 2 years, 123 of those had exited the system. And that means 107 of them had ceased operation entirely, and 16 of them had transferred their franchise agreements to new owners, which usually meant that they sold it at a deep loss or pennies on the dollar, or sometimes even gave it away. So this company has, in that short amount of time, a 73% franchise turnover rate. What was it that Dr. John Hayes had said?
It's difficult to go wrong in one of those businesses.
Yeah, we've had very few failures.
You humbug!
You're a very bad man.
So in 2015, they opened 17 locations, and the next year they went and sold 60 franchises right off the bat. and they had five failures, 5 franchises closed, like within that first year. And so, but they kept pressing on, just said they were a vibrant, growing company. The next year, they had, in 2017, they opened 43, and they closed about half that many, 21 franchises closed, and then had 8 transfers. So they almost closed or transferred. They lost as many owners as new ones that they gained. 2018, they only sold, they started going down. They opened 23 instead of 43, and they closed 18.
It's great to be the brand president of a thriving, growing company.
You humbug!
You're a very bad man.
And they're in decline. 2019, they opened 8, and now the closures have overtaken, and they closed 13 with 2 transfers. They said that they only opened 2 in 2020 and closed 29 with 3 transfers. And now in 2021, they have closed 21 locations. This is only May, and they're down to 48 locations. So they had total franchises, including transfers, 169. Total franchises that left the system, 123. And a franchise turnover rate of 72.78%. So as we go through these numbers, it bears reminding that each one of these numbers that we talk about as a closure and a failure means that families that were successful and doing well enough to make this investment have now been thrown into the worst financial situation that they've ever been in their life because they trusted these guys. Each one of those closures that we're talking about may have resulted in a foreclosure. They may have lost their house. Very likely a bankruptcy.
It's an opportunity to make a lot of money. Franchise that produces a lot of dollars.
You make money quick. You make money fast. Say realistically 120 days.
For the first time, they've got accounts overdue. They're overdrawn. Their credit score is plunging. Many of them are having their assets and their fixtures seized and being auctioned off.
You can be a good business person and a good Christian. In 26 years of doing business, I've never missed a night of sleep.
You're a very bad man.
The SBA website talked about how the Small Business Administration is an advocate for small businesses like franchisees, and how they enable them to get loans they wouldn't otherwise be able to get. Sounds really nice, but the guarantee is not to the franchisee, it's not to the small business owner, it's to the bank. They guarantee that the bank is going to get paid even if the small business owner fails. The guarantee the bank is going to get paid, and that they're going to have the money. We guarantee that United Franchise Group, they're going to get their money. And then if the franchisee fails, they're supposed to liquidate their assets. They might lose their home, they might lose their assets, and then whatever is still outstanding to the bank, the American taxpayer foots the bill and pays the bank back. And meanwhile, the small business owner, the franchisee, now has the U.S. Department of the Treasury as their creditor. There are some who report their wages are going to be garnished. Experimac franchise failure rate and loan defaults to the SBA is so egregious that it features prominently in a report that was issued this April by Nevada Senator Cortez Masto. And you can get a copy of that. You can download that from the website, unhappyfranchisee.com, at this URL, or you can just go to it and you'll find it. It's featured prominently. There were 74 loans issued that were guaranteed to this point. So there were probably more. 35 of those have been charged off already. 47% of the amount that's been guaranteed has already been charged off. So $7.5 million the SBA guaranteed to pay these banks, and already nearly $5 million has been charged off and is being repaid to the bank, which is 66%. And you can bet that that's going to continue to rise. Les, do you think that Experimac is just sort of a one-off occurrence from UFG? Cortez Masto also has charts in here of some of the highest default rates, and Experimac is listed in there, but also Embroid Me, the UFG brand now called Fully Promoted, and Signorama. Those are also high failure rate and high turnover franchises being sold by UFG. The SBA has continued to grant these guarantees for these loans despite these high failure rates. Well, I've been pretty rough on Mr. Ray Titus in this presentation, and even though every time I publish about UFG, I give them the opportunity to provide explanations or rebuttals or clarifications or corrections, and I never receive any kind of response whatsoever. And the same is true for Dr. John Hayes. In the meantime, out of fairness, let's hear from Ray Titus.
At United Franchise Group, we're passionate about entrepreneurs. We're passionate about helping people become entrepreneurs and build and grow their own business and be self-sufficient. Franchising in general, that's what good franchising is about. I would love to be remembered as somebody that was a positive force for good, be a good business person and a good Christian. In 26 years of doing business, I've never missed a night of sleep. I think our priorities are in the right place, and their success is our success as a company, and that's that focus on helping people achieve their dream of running and managing and owning their own business.
Consider this. We have a franchise with a $350,000 investment, got a 77% turnover rate, a default rate of SBA loans that is over 50% and rising. 107 people at the very least out of 169 have lost their entire investment. Many have declared bankruptcy and are going to be ruined for years to come. Mr. Ray Titus, he cares about people and he cares about entrepreneurs. Has he ceased selling franchises? Has he retooled the system? Find out why it's not working. Find out why all these people are failing and fix it, if it's fixable. They're supposed to be the computer repair expert. Maybe they need to be computer store repair experts. And don't sell another franchise until you can fulfill your promise of providing a safer and more stable franchise investment than somebody could get if they just started it on their own. As of March, they were renewing their registration so that they could continue to sell Experimac franchises. The International Franchise Association's Franchise Expo, which is scheduled for September 9th through 10th next year, 2022. Guess who is already registered? Wow, what do you know? Experimax is already registered. They are ready to be selling. They've even got their booths assigned. What a great time that will be. You'll also be able to meet Paul Bosley. The whole gang's going to be there. So Franchise Expo South, MFV Exposition. If you've got financial well-being that you are eager to get rid of, it's like a one-stop shop right there. You'll be able to go to booth 437 and get your sales pitch from Experimac and hear about what a great and vibrant company it is and how you'll make money fast. Yeah, you'll make money quickly, maybe 120 days. And if you like that, you can head right over here to 646 to Business Finance Depot, where Paul Bosley will sign you up and get you a loan that's backed by the Small Business Administration, so your bank gets their money. If you have a 401k, if you got a 401k, there's a Benetrends has got a booth there. Go and they can robs you. The IFA is there to endorse the whole thing. You got Accurate Franchising. That's another part of UFG is going to be there. Fully promoted. VentureX, Network Lead Generation, a bunch of these other brokers. Franchise Update, Gary Gardner's on the he's on the board. Ray Titus and Big Sky franchise team. So everybody's going to give you a really good recommendation for why you should buy one of those UFGs. And pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.